All right, we've gone over the basics on how to do the fireworks compositing in Photoshop. Let's now look at a few tweaks that we can exercise on this image to make it just a little bit better, or to just create something that you see in your mind's eye that you want to experiment with. And that's what we're going to do right now. Let's go back to the layers section and take a look at what we've got. And of course, we have these three fireworks explosions on their own layers, and it looks pretty good so far. One of the things that we might want to do is accentuate the color on these. So let's go ahead and click on layer number 6, and we'll come up to Image, Adjustments, and let's go into Vibrance. And of course also has the saturation slider on it. And let's take this one down like that to make sure we have the right one chosen, and indeed we do. So what we can do is run this up here and then take the vibrance slider. You always do your saturation adjustments with the vibrance slider first to see if that gives you the look you want. And we'll go ahead and move that to the right and see if it gives us a little more brilliant color, which it does. And then we can also run the saturation slider up to see what we like. And of course, every bit of this is subjective. You may or may not like it, but here are the tools that you can use to make the changes that you want. All right, so we'll say okay with that. Let's now go to layer 4, which is this bigger one right here. And we'll do the same thing, Image, Adjustments, and this time we'll go to Hue and Saturation. No, we won't. We'll go to Vibrance, and let's bring this down to make sure we got the right one chosen, which indeed we do. And just like the other fireworks explosion, we can go really, really intense with the saturation, which I personally am not a fan of, but a little bit of boost I think makes it look a little bit better. And of course we can do that with the smaller firework that's up here at the top. And we'll go ahead and hit OK. Now one of the things you might want to do is adjust the color. Let's take a look at how to adjust the color. So we have this explosion chosen, and I'm going to try something here. I haven't practiced this. This is stream of thought going here, and let's just see what happens when we do color range choices. And I'm going to go ahead and click on this right here. And I need to boost the fuzziness. Let's click on it again. And we'll hold down the Shift key, and we'll add to the selection. And you see it coming up there. Now it's the exact same color as the fringe on this one here, so we may have to refine the mask, but I think so far we're getting the colors that we want. And just to show you, I'm going to go ahead and say OK to this, and it will make a selection out of those colors. I'm going to put these colors on their own layer. And then let's see what happens. Let's just see what happens. Color balance, and we can go like that, add a bunch of blue. We can reduce the red and change the color. Let's just, we're just changing things to see what we like or don't like. Let's go to highlights. I think that's where we're going to get our best reaction. Indeed, so we come down here and any color at all. I mean, it all works. You can close your eyes and just start moving the slider, and whatever you like, whatever you end up with works because it's your image. You can do anything you want to with it. Now let's take a look, and we can do the same thing for each of these three explosions, but I like it kind of the way it was. So let's come down here and click on the foreground, and that is the skyline of Houston, the foreground here of the bayou. And let's work on the white balance. I think it's just a bit warm. Not terribly bad, but let's see what we can do. We'll go to Image, Adjustments, and Curves, and then we will go to the blue slider, and we will add some blue. And let's go to the red slider and reduce some of the reds to give it kind of a cooler appearance. And we can adjust this however we like it. I think that was a bit too much blue. Let's bring that down like that so we can adjust a little bit of the white balance on the skyline of Houston. And of course, that does not affect the fireworks at all, which is one of the great reasons for doing this as a composite. Let's hit OK. Now, one of the other things we might want to take a look at is go with Filter, Camera Raw Filter, and we'll get the clarity slider and see if we can bring out a little more of the presence of these light rays that are coming up here from downtown Houston. Let's go ahead and run this clarity slider over, and yeah, that's coming out really well. Kind of like that. Let's look at dehaze and see what that does. Don't like dehaze. I'm going to just return that to where it was. Texture. This is all experimenting. Yeah, don't like texture. That's not doing anything for me. Let's boost the shadows just to see what happens. Not a lot going on there. Let's boost the blacks. Yeah, not a whole lot going on there. So the clarity slider, I think, is where we're going to make our change. Go ahead and hit OK, and that'll apply it to the image right here. And man, I think that looks really, really good. Let's also straighten this. You can see how the side of the building is leaning in just a little bit. It's not really bad, but let's go ahead and fix it the way that I think it ought to be anyway. And once again, to repeat myself 10 million gazillion times, it's all subjective. Let's go up here and put the perspective crop tool in. And we'll go to the top and come in just a little bit until those parallel lines are running parallel with the side of the building. Let's do the other side the same way. And again, it's not terribly off. But we'll put it just like that, and we'll hit Enter and let that cogitate. And there we have a corrected image. You know, like I said, it wasn't terribly bad. It's not a whole lot different, but let's look at the before and after. Before and after, and I like the after. And I like the fact that the light rays are coming out. They're not too terribly prevalent, but that's okay. And of course, the white balance change, I think, really sets this image off. Now, let me show you one other thing that you can do, and we're going to play with the blend modes here just a bit. I'm going to go ahead and choose layer 4. No, I'm going to choose layer 5, which is this firework display right here. Come up with the blend modes, and I'm going to come down to color dodge and watch what happens. Now, you may or may not like that, and we'll just go through each of these blend modes. Obviously, that one's not good, nor is soft light. Hard light maybe, vivid light, and you can see how the obvious change in the appearance of that firework display. Pin light, hard light. I mean, look at that. So there's a million different things you can do in Photoshop to dress up your fireworks. Let's look at this other display. Go to color dodge. Overlay and soft light do something. There's vivid light, linear, pin light. So I guess the message is just come in here and experiment. There is no right or wrong thing to do. It's all 100% objective. So there we have a couple of extra special things that we've done to the image to give it that extra little tweak that we like. And I think now that we're ready to take this and collapse it, flatten the image. And yes, we want to discard the hidden layers. And then we can resize this for print or for display on the internet. So there we have tweaking your fireworks composite shot in Photoshop.